Alright guys, Brittany travels the world. I'm not doing anything. This isn't too fancy, guys, but this is my first time. Maybe, maybe I've done it before down in California. This is a HelloFresh meal. I'm pet sitting right now, and my host is handling her family stuff. And long story long, HelloFresh is arriving, so I am way out of practice with cooking. So simple. They put the ingredients in here for you, and I'll be honest with you guys. These recipes are really not that fancy. They're not that complicated. But they also, some of them are a little on the bland side or missing some ingredients. So, like for example, I didn't know you could make shishito pepper fajitas, but I wouldn't just make that my only filling. Anyways, I digress. I'm just doing this. Part of my story with cooking, a lot of people don't know this about me. If I didn't already post it, I'm going to repost it right now. I'm saying it right now. My whole healing journey with cooking was that my mother taught me how to cook her style, our family style of food when I was growing up. But I got to college and I got, a few dollars in my pocket. And, I was living in the city, so there's places to eat all the time. So I was not cooking for myself. I didn't even know that I was supposed to be cooking for myself, and how my mom ran the universe, And so I got lazy quickly. I wasn't on a routine. We were very, very regimented in routine when I was growing up, because I was raised by a father who was a foreman, and also his father had been in the military, so there was just a tight ship where I grew up. And I got to college, all that happened. Well, then I also became very, very, very obsessive with my faith, and I truly believe this. Fasting really, truly will help you, not only on a physical level, if you are sluggish and dealing with disease and everything like that, which, is very common. A lot of us don't know, like, you don't have to eat all the time. But anyways, in a spiritual level, even all the other belief systems, all the other people in the world know this, that giving your digestion a break, but also doing it for spiritual strengthening is the reason why you do it. So in Christian faith, particularly the part that deals with spiritual warfare, I truly believe this. Fasting, you have to fast and pray. Even the Bible says, I think it's about driving out demons. Fasting and praying. If I misquoted that, I really apologize, but I think it's in there. I'm pretty sure it's in there. And anyways, I started fasting. Well, then I was going through this awakening. I call it a spiritual awakening. And it became obsessive to the point where, people couldn't really deal with me because I was just off. You guys know those people. You know those people. I was one of them. And as I got older and I was in India and I was doing my panchakarma to clean my body and to rest and digest and everything, rebalance, I was telling my doctor, because in India, they're way more spiritual than a lot of people here. They understand what the spirit realm is. What it looks like, how it works, and yada yada. Anyways, long story longer, I was telling my doctor, I was really pissed off about how this whole spiritual awakening stuff had happened to me. And he just kind of oh, bless his heart. He's a Taurus, so he was just very in the US, I'd wait for somebody to kind of react emotionally, and he didn't react emotionally at all. He just is I think you're one of these people who are capable of astral travel. And then I was internally getting even more mad, because I was I don't care. It literally, you guys were out partying and having a great time, and I was off I call it off in the ether. So those of you who have now partied yourself hard and you tired and old now, you probably gonna go get right with Jesus now, or do something spiritual. I, on the other hand, don't plan on becoming more heathen. But what I am, because Lord already knows I need help. What I am gonna say is that you'll understand. Like, if you go down the spiritual path, you'll start to understand what fasting and praying is. I know some of y'all know what intermittent fasting is on the sake of like your workouts or whatever. But yeah, anyways, so yeah, it went really extreme, really, really, really extreme, where I couldn't stop, and it became an eating disorder. Excuse me. Not like I was starving myself to be skinny. I've never ever once like had that desire. I just all of a sudden wasn't eating, and then my spirit or whatever, I don't know, religious spirit or whatever influence I was under, I couldn't stop. I wouldn't stop, and I couldn't stop. And I felt this burden and this guilt and this shame. And I've only talked to one other person over this last year. I volunteered through Workaway, and they told me that their auntie had gone, the same thing had happened to her. And so people don't really realize that I went through years of having to relearn how to eat. And then I went through years of having to detox from the American Standard Diet and the program here, and then realizing like my ancestral roots are not the same as a lot of people here, and I wasn't eating things that were in tune. Even now I'm still not eating things totally that are in tune with my ancestry, but that became like, oh, I became woke about it, fermented food. I should be eating fermented food. Oh, I should be eating food that, for me, cooked, because my body, my digestion requires that. Some of you run really hot, and you should have colder, crisper foods, raw foods. But we'll get into that when I start talking about Ayurveda, because part of my journey of healing myself took me to India to heal my digestion, get my energy back, get my life back in general, period. Because I had dropped out of school because I was just like, what is going on? Like, I'm losing it here, So I wanted to share this story with you because I don't think people know, like, if I'm out with you and I tell you I'm hangry and you don't take me serious, or, you don't understand why I have an emotional attachment to food, it's because I literally, for several years of my life, was depriving myself of what some of you already know is a huge gift, something to be enjoyed. And those of you that have a dysfunctional relationship, well, my friends, you're going to have to confront yourselves the way I did. When I was in India, I literally had to sit there with my towers of all these vegetarian plain foods and be like, stop, the way you make a dog stop before they eat, and be like, breathe, breathe, breathe. Get rid of the emotional connection to the food, because you don't realize you get controlled by it, that emotional connection. But not to say like it's not a good one, but you know what I'm saying. Anyways, so yeah, I taught myself how to cook. I know like how things meld together, how they taste, how texture is supposed to be, this and that. Not been in one single cooking school in my life. Matter of fact, I was going to sign up for cooking school in California until I was going through another spiritual awakening, whereby I was realizing, where does meat come from? And there's a process to that. And if you're not willing to get in the trenches, well, back up. So now I'm more comfortable with it, and even, still would like to, I will become a hunter in time and understand the process of how meat comes to me, rather than just being like, oh, I'll just let somebody else take care of it. But yeah, this is my story. This is my testimony. A lot of people don't understand why I got into the things that I got into. And it was because my spirituality was very toxic and destructive, and it physically was destroying me. And also relationship, professional life, everything, it was destructive. And so when people, especially since I've come back to Washington, people here are incredibly religious to the point where I'm like, this is not, this is, I think this is what I was like, was attacking me or whatever attached to me when I was here, is this incredibly like over the top, extreme Christianity, spirituality, whatever faith is, everybody's faith here is just a little too extreme. And for me, it knocked me out of my existence, my body, my mind, my understanding of how life really works in reality. And people hustled me from that, you know. They were able to come up on me from that. So I walked away from my faith. It's never going to go away from me. It's always there. But I walked away from the weird relationship and the extremeness that had developed, and I was like, if this is what you are, Jesus, if this is what you are, God, I don't want that. I don't want you, and I don't want anything to do with all this other, you know, stuff going on. But I had to start healing my body after I was starving, and I had to force myself to eat at first. I never went to any, like, I didn't go to one single eating disorder clinic, because you're in denial at that point of like, I have an eating disorder. Again, this wasn't for beauty, it wasn't for aesthetic, it wasn't for feeling guilty or anything like that. It was spiritual, extreme, that I don't even know where it came from. Honestly, can tell you, don't know. But it came on strong, and from that came my healing journey of learning to eat. Then I learned how to detox my body, and I went through this whole process of it started with one step, and then it led to another, and then I met one healer after the other until I was investing thousands of dollars to go places to learn to take care of myself. And I want to share that with other people. I want other people to take care of themselves, because money can't fix you. Your stress, your martyrdom, your whatever, your routine, it can't fix you. If you don't want to take care of your health, I remember going into the doctors several times from California and Texas and saying to them, like, I've got XYZ going on, and the people literally could not be bothered with me. They would say, you could take antibiotics, whatever, but past that, there was no action plan. There was no, like, we're going to go through this program, we're going to put you on this, and not just put you on this, but like, you know, do something about this issue. There was nothing like it. Not in the allopathy field, nothing. So I felt crazy, felt mad. I went to my therapist, I told her, and that's when we started to turn a page. That's when I started to learn about things like Ayurveda and Panchakarma. And I had already met all the other healers. I'd already spent thousands of dollars of just like every week investing in my health, rather than spending money going out to eat or spending money. If I did go out to eat, it was always something like vegetarian or something well made, something healthy, or invested in ingredients where I could cook. But yeah, this was my journey. So when people want to tell me, oh, what you believe is this and that and this and that, let me tell you something. Your experience that you lived through, nobody knock you for that. Nobody can break your testimony. This is the word of my testimony. This is the real life experience of me with the spirit realm or whatever, or faith, whatever. This is my real life experience. This happened to me. This isn't about church hurt. This isn't about, you know, well, you should have been like this and you should have been that. This is not funny. I've explained this to a couple of people, and they did what I used to do when I was really deep in my faith. They tried to rationalize, because they weren't even listening. They thought they had the answer, and they just responded before they even understood what happened to me, or even put themselves in my shoes to understand what happened to me. Not only was I going through all of that spiritual stuff, my father was also actually critically ill and eventually passed away. So I was having really, really awful experiences dealing with my parents' health crisis over and over and over again. This trauma hitting me over and over and over again. And perhaps that was my body and mind and spirit's way of trying to, like, I don't know, survive. Not sure, but it's likely. And what I got thrown into, never knowing that was going to ever be my story, or like my experience coming out of high school. I never knew that. I knew another friend that had lost her mother, and it was shocking because I had met her mother, but I remember her mother had been ill. So it's just like, you don't you don't realize this stuff like is hitting you, and until it does. And then like when people open up and they share their experience, it can bring a lot of clarity and healing, and just in general like truth or knowledge. You guys got to have knowledge, not to be arrogant, but because without it you are ignorant, or you're perishing, as the Bible would say. So this is my experience. Like, food for me is a delight. It was when I was a kid. I don't know why I haven't worked in more restaurants. I don't know. Or had some sort of meal service or something. But this is practice. This is practice. I've been out of practice because this last year has been really hard for me, and I lost my appetite. I think I might have. My tummy might be ill again from my world travels. And I haven't done a deep cleanse in a while. I do recommend them. You need to do them a couple times a year. Since I've come home, it's been really hard to reintegrate back into the chaos of life, where people like, it seems like, la la la. Yeah. Like, just keep going, we just gotta make another dollar. Like, oh, yeah. Yeah. Anyways, this is my journey. This is my story. I'm doing some meal prepping. This isn't anything vegan or fancy or anything like that, but I just wanted to share with you guys my testimony on, like, my healing journey of my relationship with learning to cook, and why I enjoy the process, because it was a healing journey for me. It was something that healed me after, I had to wake up. After that awakening came of like, you gotta feed yourself, you gotta take care of yourself, all these things. So it's really a joy for me I know what it's like to be starving. So what I'm saying by that is, I know what it's like to have need to eat and nourish yourself. Those of you who are well nourished and always well taken care of, like, for you, it's just you're on autopilot of like, oh, it's time to eat again. Oh, I need this again. You know what I mean? But it's kind of like, there's this story of these pups, right? I was in Costa Rica with my sister once, and this guy was bragging about his dog having puppies, and then he said he had the runt, and he would push all the other puppies. He'd move all the puppies out, the ones that were feeding, and he would take the runt and just let the runt feed by himself. So what I'm saying is that I'm understanding what it is to have that wound, and why it's so important to have a routine, eat well, to eat whole nourishing foods. Those of you who are on a journey in your life where you're addicted to things and you're, all caught up in the world, more power to you. If health and wellness is not your priority this lifetime, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to people that like this message would gel with, right? My friend Jason once told me, he's like, if you do something that make you feel even a percentage better, then that's good. And for me, there was things that I changed that really made a difference in my life. So I want to share this with you. Sabrina travels the world, and I'm going to make some fajitas now to share, because this is a lot of food for one chick. All right. Good night. Arrivederci. See you later. A bientôt.